Pope Francis, the beloved spiritual leader of over 1.3 billion Catholics worldwide, passed away on Easter Monday, April 21st, 2025. He died at the age of 88 due to complications from pneumonia, followed by a stroke and heart failure. His death occurred peacefully at Casa Santa Marta in the Vatican. The world mourned the loss of a reformative figure who led the Catholic Church for over a decade with compassion, humility, and a deep sense of moral clarity. His passing on Easter Monday added a poignant layer to an already sacred day in Christianity. The Vatican confirmed that his final hours were calm and prayerful, surrounded by his closest aides. Global leaders, religious figures, and faithful Catholics expressed deep sorrow and paid tribute to his life's work. The funeral arrangements began immediately after, as the world prepared to say goodbye to one of the most transformative popes in modern history. Pope Francis's health complications before death. Before his passing, Pope Francis had battled various health complications. Over the years, he had undergone multiple surgeries, dealt with respiratory issues, and was often seen using a wheelchair due to knee problems. His most critical episode began with pneumonia, which significantly weakened his immune system. As his condition deteriorated, he suffered a stroke followed by heart failure. The Vatican medical team monitored him closely, but his age and medical history made recovery difficult. Despite his health challenges, the Pope remained committed to his duties, continuing to meet with visitors and delivering messages to the faithful. His resilience was admired worldwide, yet in the final weeks, his physical condition declined rapidly. The Vatican confirmed his peaceful passing in the early hours of Easter Monday, marking the end of a remarkable papal journey. His health struggles only deepened the respect millions had for his unwavering spiritual leadership. Global mourning. After Pope Francis's death. Pope Francis' death triggered a wave of mourning across the globe. From the Vatican to the farthest corners of the Catholic world, millions expressed their sorrow and shared stories of his impact. Churches held special prayer services, and world leaders sent tributes recognizing his influence on peace, climate change, poverty, and interfaith unity. His passing on Easter Monday, a symbol of resurrection and hope, deepened the emotional resonance for many Christians. Faithful followers gathered in St. Peter's Square to pay their respects, while social media was flooded with heartfelt messages and memories. Religious leaders from other faiths also offered condolences, highlighting the Pope's role in promoting dialogue and tolerance. Governments ordered flags to half-mast, and major landmarks lit up in white and gold, the papal colors. The unity and grief underscored how deeply Pope Francis had touched lives far beyond the walls of the Vatican. The final hours of Pope Francis. In his final hours, Pope Francis was surrounded by those closest to him at the Vatican's Casa Santa Marta. His aides and a small group of cardinals remained by his side as he peacefully passed away. According to Vatican officials, he was conscious until shortly before his death and received the sacrament of the anointing of the sick. Despite severe physical pain, he remained spiritually composed, reportedly praying and blessing those around him. The atmosphere was solemn, filled with quiet reverence and deep emotion. A medical team had been closely monitoring his condition, but despite their efforts, his body could no longer withstand the complications caused by pneumonia, stroke, and heart failure. As word of his death spread, church bells tolled across Rome, signaling the end of his papacy. His peaceful departure was seen as a final reflection of the humility and grace with which he led the Catholic Church. Pope Francis' legacy and reformist leadership. Pope Francis will be remembered as one of the most transformative popes of the modern era. Born Jorge Mario Bergoglio in Argentina, he was the first pope from the Americas and the first Jesuit to lead the Catholic Church. His papacy was marked by a strong focus on social justice, climate action, compassion for the marginalized, and a push for interfaith dialogue. He also advocated for reform within the Vatican, emphasizing transparency and accountability. Known for his humble lifestyle, he rejected many luxuries traditionally associated with the papal role. Pope Francis championed the rights of migrants and the poor, stood against clerical abuse, and worked toward making the Church more inclusive. Though his views sometimes stirred debate, especially among conservatives, his dedication to mercy and unity earned him widespread admiration. His legacy is one of empathy, reform, and relentless pursuit of peace and understanding in a complex world. Vatican's official statement on the death of Pope Francis. Shortly after Pope Francis' passing, the Vatican released a solemn and respectful official statement confirming his death. The announcement came at dawn on Easter Monday, April 21, 2025, and was delivered by Matteo Bruni, the director of the Holy See Press Office. The statement highlighted the Pope's final moments, acknowledging his deep faith and unwavering commitment to his ministry. It praised his years of service, emphasizing his humility, devotion to peace, and efforts to modernize the Church while staying true to its spiritual foundations. The Vatican also declared an official period of mourning and laid out the initial plans for funeral proceedings. Tributes poured in from bishops, cardinals, world leaders, and citizens globally. The statement called for prayers for the repose of his soul and unity among Catholics during this time of loss. It served as both a confirmation of his death and a reflection of his extraordinary papacy. How the world reacted to Pope Francis's death. The world reacted with profound grief and respect upon hearing the news of Pope Francis's death. Heads of state, religious leaders, and ordinary citizens offered condolences and shared their thoughts on his legacy. U.S. President, European leaders, and the Secretary General of the United Nations issued statements honoring his dedication to peace, climate responsibility, and social justice. Countries with large Catholic populations such as Brazil, the Philippines, and Mexico declared national days of mourning. Muslim, Jewish, Hindu, and Buddhist leaders also praised his efforts toward interfaith dialogue and understanding. In social media, hashtags like #RIP Francis and #Thank You Pope trended globally, as millions posted photos, quotes, and personal stories of his influence. Cities illuminated buildings in Vatican colors, and churches held vigils in remembrance. The global reaction reflected not just the loss of a spiritual leader, but the passing of a compassionate figure who spoke to humanity beyond religious lines. Funeral arrangements and schedule for Pope Francis. The funeral arrangements for Pope Francis were carefully planned in accordance with Vatican tradition. The Vatican announced a 9-day mourning period, known as Novem Diales, culminating in a papal funeral mass at St. Peter's Basilica. The Pope's body was placed in repose for public viewing, allowing thousands of faithful from around the world to pay their respects. Heads of state, religious leaders, and dignitaries were invited to attend the funeral service, which was scheduled for April 30th, 2025. His casket, crafted in traditional elm and cypress wood, was displayed before being interred in the crypt beneath St. Peter's Basilica. The ceremony was expected to follow the liturgical norms established for a deceased pope, though slight adjustments were made to reflect Pope Francis' preference for simplicity. The event, broadcast globally, allowed Catholics and admirers worldwide to honor his memory and legacy. It was a farewell, both intimate and universally significant. Public reactions and tributes from religious leaders. Religious leaders around the world reacted to Pope Francis' death with reverence and gratitude. The ecumenical patriarch of Constantinople described him as a bridge builder, praising his outreach to Orthodox Christians. Leaders from Protestant, Anglican, and evangelical communities highlighted his efforts in promoting unity among Christian denominations. Grand Imam Ahmed el-Tayeb of Al-Azhar expressed deep sorrow, calling Pope Francis a man of peace, who stood for human dignity and compassion. Jewish rabbis and Hindu gurus also sent their condolences, honoring his commitment to dialogue and understanding. The Dalai Lama issued a personal letter, praising his humility and courage in addressing global suffering. Countless imams, priests, monks, and spiritual figures remembered how Pope Francis made efforts to reach across religious boundaries, opening hearts and minds with his inclusive messages. The sheer diversity of these tributes demonstrated the Pope's rare ability to transcend religious divisions and become a true moral voice for all. The role of Pope Francis in modernizing the Catholic Church. Pope Francis played a crucial role in bringing the Catholic Church into the 21st century. From his first day as Pope in 2013, he sought to make the Church more accessible, compassionate, and relevant to modern society. He emphasized inclusivity, urging the Church to welcome all people, including LGBTQ+ individuals, the divorced, and those previously marginalized. Francis focused on poverty, climate change, and refugees, shifting attention from internal doctrine to real-world issues. He also tackled sexual abuse scandals head-on, calling for accountability within the clergy and implementing stricter guidelines for bishops. Technologically, he encouraged the Church to embrace social media and digital communication to reach younger generations. While not without controversy, especially among conservative Catholics, his reforms were bold and forward-thinking. Pope Francis helped reshape the image of the papacy, from an isolated institution to a compassionate force of global conscience, rooted in faith and humanity. Global memorial services and ceremonies for Pope Francis. Following Pope Francis's death, memorial services and ceremonies were held around the globe in tribute to his life and leadership. Cathedrals and churches in every continent hosted special masses, candlelight vigils, and prayer services. In Argentina, his homeland, thousands gathered in Buenos Aires's Plaza de Mayo for a national mass of remembrance. In Manila, Mexico City, Paris, and New York, cathedrals overflowed with faithful honoring his memory. Even in predominantly non-Christian countries, interfaith gatherings were organized to reflect on his legacy of compassion and unity. These ceremonies weren't just limited to Catholics. Leaders from various religious and secular communities participated, emphasizing the universal impact of his teachings. The Vatican coordinated with embassies and dioceses worldwide to ensure the Pope's memory was properly honored. These services provided comfort to millions grieving his loss and reinforced a global sense of unity that Pope Francis had always advocated during his lifetime. Pope Francis's legacy in interfaith dialogue. One of the most profound aspects of Pope Francis' papacy was his dedication to interfaith dialogue. He believed deeply in fostering peace through mutual understanding among the world's major religions. In 2019, he co-signed the historic Document on Human Fraternity with Grand Imam Ahmed El Tayeb in Abu Dhabi, promoting coexistence and condemning violence in the name of religion. He visited sacred sites of other faiths, Jewish synagogues, Muslim mosques, Hindu temples, and frequently engaged with leaders from Buddhism, Sikhism, and indigenous traditions. His commitment extended beyond gestures. He established long-term Vatican partnerships with religious councils to address shared concerns like poverty, environmental degradation, and extremism. His passing was mourned not just by Catholics, but by a broader interfaith community that recognized him as a unifying force. His legacy continues through ongoing efforts and relationships he nurtured, reminding the world that peace is possible when faiths stand together. Media coverage and the papal funeral broadcast. The death of Pope Francis dominated global media, with 24-hour coverage spanning major news networks, religious broadcasters, and online platforms. Journalists from every corner of the globe converged on Vatican City to report live from St. Peter's Square, capturing the unfolding tributes, processions, and public reaction. Special documentaries and retrospectives aired, revisiting key moments of his life and papacy. The papal funeral, held on April 30th, 2025, was one of the most widely broadcast events in history, viewed by billions across television, radio, and live streams. News anchors provided commentary on every symbolic gesture, from the tolling bells to the placing of the fisherman's ring. Social media platforms overflowed with real-time tributes, videos, and personal memories. The extensive coverage reflected the Pope's global influence and ensured that even those far from the Vatican could participate in his farewell. His final moments were witnessed not just by the Church, but by humanity. Reflections on Pope Francis' teachings and messages. Pope Francis' teachings emphasized mercy, humility, justice, and love for all, especially the poor and marginalized. His papacy was marked by memorable messages that resonated far beyond Catholic circles. Phrases like, "Who am I to judge?" and "A poor church for the poor" reflected his inclusive theology and compassionate worldview. He consistently challenged Catholics to live out their faith through action, by serving others, caring for the environment, and rejecting materialism. His encyclicals like Laudato Si and Fratelli Tutti became blueprints for social and ecological justice, urging governments and individuals alike to rethink their relationship with creation and each other. Pope Francis did not shy away from difficult conversations, calling for reform, repentance, and renewal in the Church. His words often felt personal, offering both comfort and challenge. Now, in reflection, his messages continue to inspire countless people to pursue lives of empathy, simplicity, and purposeful faith. What happens next? The process of electing a new pope. With the death of Pope Francis, the Catholic Church enters the sede vacante period, the time during which the papal seat is vacant. The College of Cardinals now takes center stage, tasked with electing the next pope through a conclave. Held in the Sistine Chapel, this secretive and sacred process involves multiple rounds of voting until a 2/3 majority is reached. Cardinals under the age of 80 are eligible to vote, and preparations are overseen by the Camerlengo, a senior Vatican official. While no obvious successor has been identified yet, several cardinals known for continuing France's progressive spirit are considered likely contenders. The conclave could take place in early May 2025. Once a new pope is chosen, the famous white smoke will rise above the chapel, and the world will hear the declaration, Habemus Papam. The next pope will inherit a church transformed by Francis, and a world eager to see what's next.